We're going to have 4 nations debut for the first time at this next World Cup.
First time?
Uzbekistan, Jordan, Curacao, Cape Verde Islands, or Cabo Verde Islands. How exciting! We haven't had these many countries debut at a World Cup for a while, considering that the last World Cups we've only had 1 or 2 nations debut. Last one we've only had Qatar, who was the host. The last time that we've had this many new debutants was 1998. And we're having some of the smallest nations debut for the first time. Curacao is the smallest nation to be in a World Cup by population and land area. Then you look at Cape Verde Islands. Everybody was so excited because before Curacao made it, they were the second smallest. They're the third smallest by population, second smallest by area. These small countries from Africa, North America are making their debut at this World Cup, as well as countries like Uzbekistan, which has been pushing for a World Cup for so long. They were on the brink of qualifying so many times, and finally they were able to break through. Dominantly, in a group that featured them and Iran, they easily swept through the qualification with Iran, coming just barely second to Iran, playing some very tight games with Iran as well. Then you look at Africa. Cape Verde Islands shocked everybody when they qualified instead of Cameroon, coming in front of Cameroon in their group and in a very impressive qualifying stage, being the smallest African nation to qualify for the World Cup. Full of Cinderella stories. Jordan as well. Outside of countries that are making their debut, you look at countries that haven't been in a World Cup for a while, but they're returning, such as Haiti. The last time Haiti was in a World Cup was 1974, and they qualified impressively in a group that featured Honduras and Costa Rica, where nobody was expecting them to qualify, especially considering that because of what's going on in Haiti, they had to play outside of their country home games in Curacao. But they made it, and now this is their second World Cup appearance, like I said, outside of 1974, where they lost very badly to my country. Unfortunately for them. Fortunately, I guess, for Poland. You also have some European teams that are making the return to the World Cup after not having played for it in a while. Scotland, Austria, and Norway hadn't played in a World Cup since 1998, which interestingly, they were both in. None have qualified since then. Austria was very surprised because it seems like Austria is always in the Euros, but apparently they haven't been playing in the World Cup since then. I guess this will be David Alaba's first World Cup. That is, if he's not injured. And then Scotland, so much passion for the game. You look at Norway, they dominated their group. A group that had Italy, where they comfortably, easily beat Italy. Yes, and I know that Italy is struggling, but that's still a massive team. Had the most impressive qualifying campaign in all of Europe. It looks like Erling Haaland and Odegaard are finally bringing this golden generation to a major tournament. Let's see how they do. I know I've been mentioning some new faces at this World Cup, but you also can't forget to talk about Qatar. Qatar was at the last World Cup, so this isn't their debut. But this is the first World Cup that they've actually qualified instead of getting automatic qualification as hosts. But despite all these new faces, the World Cup still looks very familiar. 26 out of 32 teams at the last World Cup will be at this one. And that doesn't include 3 countries that were at the last World Cup who still have a chance of qualifying. Those countries being Wales, Denmark, and Poland. Please, Poland, I'm begging you, qualify for this World Cup. Please, give Lewandowski one more World Cup that he can play in. Please. Pretty please? Of course, a big reason why we are seeing new teams debut in this World Cup, or teams playing a World Cup that haven't played in a long time, is because FIFA decided to expand this World Cup from 32 teams to 48 teams. Now, me personally, I thought that 32 was the perfect amount of teams at a World Cup. Maybe for the men's one, not the women's one. And that's all I've known. The whole entire time that I've been live, there's been 32 teams. And it felt like the perfect amount of teams, that it wasn't oversaturated. But I will say, one of the benefits which FIFA was trying to push was the fact that more of these countries will be able to participate. You'll be able to see more countries debut because there is more spots. Even though we all know that the biggest reason that they decided to expand to a bigger World Cup has to do with money. Despite how I felt about an expanded World Cup, I do think that new teams being able to play for the first time, teams being able to play after not having been able to participate for a long time, is a huge benefit of this huger tournament. Even if I might still not be too crazy about a bigger tournament. Maybe I'll change my mind. And remember, we're still not even done with qualifying. We could have more debutants join the list. The most likely, in my opinion, is Suriname, who just barely didn't qualify already to the World Cup. They finished second in their group to Panama in a very, very tight race. It came down to the last game. But they have an extremely strong squad full of a lot of players who are based in Europe. They started recruiting all those Dutch players with Surinamese descent, and it gave them an extremely strong side full of Dutch-born Surinamese players. So they are my favorite. But we still have a few other teams such as Kosovo, Albania, and New Caledonia, which can make their debut. Not really holding my breath for New Caledonia. Out of all the remaining teams, I feel like they're the least likely and the weakest, but you never know. If you just look at the Intercontinental Playoffs, it's full of teams who could either debut for the first time in the World Cup, or they haven't played in a World Cup for a really, really long time. Out of the 6 remaining teams, Jamaica is the one who most recently played at a World Cup. And the last time they played at a World Cup was all the way in 1998. So this shows you how this intercontinental spots are going to be filled with teams who are either new to the World Cup or haven't played in a really, really long time. Personally, I think DR Congo is the most likely out of the remaining teams to make the World Cup. They haven't played in a World Cup since 1974 when they were still Zaire. However, DR Congo has an extremely strong squad with lots of players based out of Europe. And in a very thrilling showdown between the teams that came second in their qualifying group in Africa, they defeated Nigeria in the final. And in the other intercontinental playoff, you have Iraq, Suriname, and Bolivia fighting for that other spot. That group is pretty even matched if you ask me. Honestly, I think it's really great when you have teams, nations, playing the World Cup for the first time, or playing a World Cup after not having been in a World Cup for a really, really long time. It creates hope, pride. It's the first time that these countries get to participate in this great, amazing sporting event and actually fully take part in it. You see new teams, new players, new stories. I think it adds to what makes the World Cup great. Because the World Cup, to me, it's a world celebration. It's a world great party. And for the first time, those countries are invited. They get to participate. So a huge congratulations to Uzbekistan, Jordan, Curacao, and Cape Verde Islands for making the first World Cup. All the best.
We will show everyone that we are small, but we are big at heart.